People are playing Azula wrong. Well, kinda. Imagine being my friend Jimmy. He's had a crush on Azula since puberty.
I can fix that.
Payoff. Hoop. We just jump through the hoop and profit, right? Simple enough. And that's the typical Azula build I see, but the problem is we have maybe 10, 12 other commanders that do the same with different hoops, some easier, some harder. So unless you're obsessed with Azula like Jimmy is, what sets her apart from the other spell doubling commanders? To be fair, if you give them Flash, being able to copy creatures and enchantments is pretty sweet, especially for Grixis. But yeah, having to go through all this trouble just to dump your hand and make a massive board during your combat phase seems a bit restrictive. Why not go with rather than against the flow? I'm sure Uncle Ira has some words of wisdom about this. A crumbly biscuit is not a problem, it's just a chance to enjoy the pieces, something like that. But anyways, what does Azula want to do? Azula wants to beat people up, and that's what we're doing today. Voltron, combat, spell, double. Double again, seems good. Hello, this is Jin with Next Level Commander. I post regular Commander content, and there are some really interesting choices from this avatar set. So please subscribe if you're interested. Also, there are so many new legends nowadays, it's easy to gloss over some interesting ones. Are there any hidden gems that you found from this set or any other? Please let me know in the comments. So let's take a look at Azula. 4 mana 4/4, not great. Could be better. Firebending is cool, but it's such a specific and narrow mechanic. But we'll make full use of it. And finally, spell copying during combat, and this is what we are building around. The main idea is simple. These pump spells that can double up, combined with pretty much any other pump spell, we can straight up one-shot an opponent. Now let's take a look. Starting off with the best ones, Bulk Up and Unleash Fury. Being able to double and double again for 2 mana, you're dealing 16 damage to someone without any other pump. With anything else, even a +1 spell, because those are also copied, we are going for lethal. Doubling is so good here, even a double trouble is worth the mana. And once in a while, it can pump multiple relevant attackers, Azula and Inkmoth Nexus for example. Aside from the doublers, another hidden gem is Fists of Flame. On its own, we are drawing 2 cards and pumping Azula for 5, but oftentimes it's double or even triple that because of how much we're drawing. For the less efficient pump spells, they are doing more. Double Strike, for instance, is a bit redundant when copied, same with Great Train Heist, but those cards provide enough value in other ways to justify their inclusion. And also these ones, either paying for themselves, drawing us cards, or stick around as an equipment. Twinferno specifically is used to copy spells twice, usually, making whatever I cast next happen 4 times when combined with Azula. Seize the Day can't be copied, but it's just an auto-include in any Voltron deck. Getting 3 combats, you can kill 3 opponents, oftentimes. And finally, we sprinkle in a few of the super efficient 1 mana +6 into the mix, and that's our pump package. Azula's biggest weakness is the cost. 4 is not cheap, especially for a deck that doesn't do much without its commander. But fortunately, 4 is the easiest cost to ramp up to. Just play 2 mana rocks, and we've got the whole suite. The only 3 mana option here is Misleading Signpost, because Flash. We can cast this while attacking and get 2 rocks for 3 mana. That's decent. Now, Azula is the kind of commander that is worth devoting a lot of resources into protecting because she will pay us back. How? With these little draw spells that become ridiculous when copied. The only thing better than discarding 1 to draw 4 for 2 mana is discarding 1 to draw 4 for 0 mana. All these draw 1s are super reasonable as well for their cost and the utility they give. Born Upon a Wind isn't relevant too often, but flashing in a few mana rocks that pay for themselves is decent. And flashing in a commander is another way of protecting her. Dig Through Time will almost always cost 2 mana and will dig us 16 deep. Almost guaranteed to turn into a kill or 2. Try to leave 1 instant in the graveyard as you delve, because there's a decent chance that you will get a Gear Hulk or something similar, and it might just be the best choice. And it's not really a deck tech on this channel without some protection spells. Azula is not cheap. And the deck revolves around her too much for us to just leave her out there to get removed. So we have the typical redirects and efficient counterspells. Fungal Fortitude and Fey Flight are cool since enchantments are also copied, so a permanent pump/evasion can be useful on top of being protection spells. Cryptic Command is versatile in being a counterspell or an evasion spell in a pinch. And now this isn't quite an all-in deck because we are not as fast as decks like Vivi or Ezreal. So we still need to play some interaction and removals. Our counterspell suite is solid, and for removals, we're trying to avoid the ones that leave a blocker behind for our opponents. Instead, we have some synergistic ones like Astarion's Thirst, which will kill 2 things and pump our commander to 10 plus power just for 4 mana, and Snap, which also serves as a ritual with the untapping. And finally, some miscellaneous utilities specifically made for Azula. She has no evasion, so that will be a challenge. Leap and Shadow Rift both give evasion and double cantrip. Silver Shroud costume is both a protection spell and evasion. Just watch out for the Shroud, make sure we get our pump in before the Shroud kicks in. Torrential Gearhulk is amazing. You get 2 copies of the Gearhulk, which will bring back 2 instants from the grave, and each of those will be copied. Mission Briefing and Snapcaster Mage are a bit similar, especially if one of the spells you flashback is something like Turnabout, which nets you mana. And yeah, Turnabout is nuts. It's usually a massive ritual, but can also be evasion in a pinch. Increasing Vengeance will copy spell twice when cast from hand, but if you flash it back, you get 4 copies of any instant. And finally, Tidal Barracuda. It gives everything, notably our commander, Flash. But more importantly, it serves as a weaker Grand Abolisher. With this on the field, you can pretty much kill whoever you want without worrying about counterplays. For lands, we focus on mana fixing, with the key utilities being haste and evasion. And for haste, we're only playing the ones that don't cost extra mana. Arena of Glory is the best one of the bunch. Command Beacon is there in case Azula gets too expensive. Talon Gates of Madeira will face Azula out and guarantee that we get to untap with her. And Inkmoth Nexus is our alternative win condition. And there you have the deck. Voltron is always a bit awkward to play in 4-player. You should be able to take out an opponent fairly quickly, but if you do that, there's a good chance you are keeping someone out of the game for a long duration, and you might get hated out as well. So the ideal play pattern is chipping down opponents in early game while sculpting our hand to set up for one-shotting the biggest threat when the time comes. But with how explosive Azula is, once she's attacking, it might be difficult to hold back. Even on your first attack on, say, turn 4, you'll be drawing into more draw and just stumble upon 22 damage in hand, all during combat. And you will have to decide whether to hold off or just go for it. Either way, this isn't a deck for everyone or every group. It isn't the most explosive, but I'd say it's still mid to high. A bit glass cannon-y for its reliance on Azula. It can be quite complex to pilot, almost feels like half a Storm deck, and the decision tree can be massive. It's fairly budget-friendly. The core of the deck is the cheap pump spells and draw spells, and all the expensive stuff I have on my list are pretty replaceable. The list is down in the descriptions. And technically, it is a bracket 3. And there you go, the Azula Voltron deck. She's probably one of the most potent fighters in this series, and this deck hopes to reflect that. This is Jin with Next Level Commander, and once again, they're releasing so many legendaries now, and it's easy to miss all the interesting takes and interesting builds as I gloss through them. So if there's a commander that you see from the new sets, Avatar, Eldraine, or what's it called? Edge of Eternity, yeah, you think it has potential? Let me know in the comments, and it might just be the next deck I built. Alright, thanks for watching. See you.